Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to crack open one of the most famous and, let's be honest, infamous books on power ever written, Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince. For 500 years, people have called it a handbook for tyrants, a guide to being evil. But is that really the whole story? Let's dig in and find out. So if I say Machiavelli, this is probably the phrase that pops into your head, right? The end justifies the means. It sounds like the ultimate permission slip for ruthless ambition. The idea that if your goal is big enough, you can do literally anything, no matter how cruel, to get there. It's basically become the one-line summary of his entire philosophy. Well, here's the kicker. He never actually said it, not once. It's one of the biggest misquotes in all of history. The closest he ever got was something like, if a prince can hold on to his state, his methods will always be seen as honorable in the end. It's a subtle difference, but it's a huge one. So if we got the most famous line totally wrong, what else have we been missing about the prince? To really get this book, we have to go back in time. You have to understand the world that created it. So we're heading to Renaissance Italy, a place that gave us breathtaking art, sure, but it was also a place of nonstop, brutal political chaos. Just look at this timeline. It tells you everything about how unstable life was. See, Niccolò Machiavelli wasn't some philosopher sitting in a comfy chair. He was a top-level diplomat for the Republic of Florence for 14 years. He saw war, betrayal, and politics up close and personal. But then, in 1512, his whole world just fell apart. The super-powerful Medici family came back to power. They crushed the Republic. And Machiavelli? He was fired, arrested, tortured, and then thrown into exile on his little farm. And at the very same time, the whole political map of Europe was changing. The old medieval system, with all its scattered lords and knights, was dying. In its place, powerful new monarchies were popping up, grabbing land and centralizing all the power. This was the birth of what we call the modern state. It was a brand new, high-stakes game. And that is the problem Machiavelli is desperately trying to solve. So, this is the most important part to remember. The Prince wasn't written for you and me. It was written in 1513, when Machiavelli was at his absolute lowest point. And here's the thing, it was basically the most gutsy job application in history. He wrote it and dedicated it as a gift to the new Medici ruler, basically saying, hey, I have this incredible knowledge of how power really works. Please hire me back. He was desperate to get back in the game. Okay, so what was this radical advice he was offering? Let's get into the ideas that shocked pretty much everyone. Machiavelli says that to survive, a ruler has to be two animals at once, a lion and a fox. The lion is all about brute force, right? Military power, the strength to scare off the wolves, your enemies. But the lion is kind of clumsy. He can't spot a trap. That's where the fox comes in. The fox is all about cunning, deception, and knowing how to play the game of diplomacy. So a leader has to be both strong and smart. He also gives us two really important concepts, virtue and fortuna. Think of Fortuna as a raging, unpredictable river. It's luck, it's fate, it's all the stuff you can't control. But virtue, and this isn't about being morally virtuous, it's about skill, guts, and the sheer audacity to build dams and channels to control that river. Machiavelli believed that a leader with enough virtue could actually tame fortune and shape his own destiny instead of just being swept away. And this leads us to his most shocking idea. Machiavelli was really the first to say that politics and traditional morality are two completely different things. He says a prince absolutely has to look like a good guy. He should appear merciful, faithful, and religious. But, and this is a big but, to protect the state, he has to be willing and able to be cruel, dishonest, and ruthless whenever it's necessary. For Machiavelli, the survival of the state is the ultimate good. This quote is a perfect example of his incredibly practical approach to psychology. He basically says, look, if you have to do something bad, like raise taxes or fire people, do it all in one go. The pain is intense, but it's quick, and people eventually move on. But the good stuff, the benefits, you hand those out slowly, a little at a time, so that people are always feeling grateful. It's cold, for sure, but it's also a scarily accurate insight into how we think. So as you can probably imagine, when this book finally got published after Machiavelli died, it caused an absolute uproar. The reaction was swift and it was almost entirely negative, a total firestorm. In fact, his work gave us a whole new word, Machiavellian. For hundreds of years now, it's been used as an insult. It means being cynical, manipulative, and ruthless. a way to describe anyone who seems to think that power is the only thing that matters, and morals don't. The backlash was so intense, it actually created its own genre of books. Especially in Spain, this whole wave of anti-Machiavellian literature popped up, with author after author writing books specifically to tear down his ideas and argue for a more traditional Christian vision of a good ruler. And man, these writers did not pull any punches. The famous Spanish writer Francisco de Quevedo straight up called Machiavelli a satanic author. He argued that Machiavelli's ideas weren't just immoral, they were like a new religion where power itself was the only god, an end that justified absolutely any sin. So if it was so hated, so condemned, why are we still talking about this 500-year-old book? Why do we still read it? What makes it a classic? It's because Machiavelli completely changed the game. He was the first major thinker to stop talking about politics as it should be in a perfect world, and instead decided to look at politics as it actually is in the real world. He ripped away that veil of morality and religion and just looked at power with the cold, hard eyes of a scientist. His guiding light was this one principle, what he called the effectual truth of the matter. He wasn't interested in dreamy ideals of how leaders should behave. No. After 14 years in the trenches of diplomacy, he only cared about one thing: what actually works to get and keep power. This focus on reality, not idealism, was a complete revolution. And that's why it's timeless. The Prince is this uncomfortable but essential look at how power really works. It forces us to think about that messy relationship between doing what's right and doing what's necessary. It talks about force, deception, the psychology of leadership, and that basic struggle to create some kind of order in a chaotic world. These are questions we are still wrestling with today. So, what's the final verdict? Is he a teacher of evil or just a stone-cold realist telling it like it is? Either way, Machiavelli gives us a powerful new lens to see the world. So the next time you watch a political leader making a tough call, ask yourself, am I seeing the lion or am I seeing the fox? Thanks for watching.